Why do Iron Lung and the Hail Mary project both feel so satisfying? How are they similar? And what sets each film apart? First off, these are two extremely different movies. From the characters to the plot to the endings to the colors, these are two different movies in two vastly different genres. Yet they share shockingly similar attributes. How? This will dive into some pretty heavy spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movies, consider this your warning. Also, read the Hail Mary Project book. I've seen each of these movies once because, let's be honest, movie tickets cost way too much in this economy, so forgive any small details I might get wrong. However, watching the first 15 minutes of Project Hail Mary, I couldn't help but think of it as budget Iron Lung, or rather, an over sanitized advertising ploy version of Markiplier's movie. On the surface, it's tempting to say that the two movies are very similar. Sometime in the future, the stars die/are dying, and a somewhat mysterious middle-aged man is sent on a solo one-way trip to find out what might be able to save humanity on an alien planet, even if it means losing his own life. They both even have the same main character drinking cheap alcohol as a coping mechanism on the spaceship. Later on in Project Hail Mary, we even learn that neither Dr. Grace or Simon are on the trip of their own volition. Both films even start with some version of a white box story, whether that's Simon's history being held from us as the viewers, or Dr. Grace having amnesia from an induced coma. What separates these beginning scenes, though, is the tone. Now, this might seem obvious, but I think there's an important storytelling lesson to be learned here. Where Iron Lung begins with dark, somewhat dramatic shots of the convict, Hail Mary begins with a somewhat annoyingly slapstick scene of Dr. Grace waking up, the least entertaining humor of the entire movie, in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. This is because both movies are a masterclass in tone, especially compared to each other, where Iron Lung uses about 15 swears directly one after another for one of the only comedic beats in the movie. Hail Mary specifically makes a point of cutting off the main character cursing at one point. Small changes can make a big difference when it comes to the tone of a story, and these directors knew exactly what they were doing. One last thing to contrast before we continue: the characters! Both are unwilling sacrificial lambs for the greater good, both are struggling to survive in a world that wants them dead, and both have to wrestle with the concept of sacrifice and the greater good. As Ava said in Iron Lung, it isn't about us. Both characters fight for the ability to live when given even the smallest piece of hope, but their characters and personalities are very different on the surface. Simon is a brooding convict sent on a suicide mission, in part because he's the least valuable human left to the group sending the mission. He's haunted by his past, terrified of death, and longing for a world he'll never get to see. Dr. Grace is a somewhat dorky scientist turned middle school teacher who makes awful dad jokes and grins when he finds alien life, naming said alien Rocky and giving it puppet shows. But he too is haunted by his past, unwilling to die, and doing his best to get back to a world that never really wanted him in the first place. One movie is an eldritch horror indie movie with the world record for blood, and the other is a family friendly space movie that left me grinning like a complete idiot at the ending instead of staring in shock. But conceivably, you could swap the protagonists with little to no change in the main plot. Why is that? Here's the heart of it: the movies share the same theme, but not the same tone. Iron Lung and Hail Mary are, arguably, both movies about sacrifice, choice, survival, the greater good, and the indomitable human spirit. Or, in other words, hope. Both are set in space during an apocalypse, and both have adorable alien sidekicks. Okay, well, maybe that one's a stretch. But in one, everyone's favorite comfort YouTuber gets corrupted into an eldritch horror, or turned into a tree if you like that theory. I do, but that's beside the point. And in the other, Ryan Gosling ends up teaching math to adorable alien children. This is why, as writers, setting up tone is so important in any story. Both of these movies have similar plots, characters, and near identical themes, but vastly different tones. In every scene, the tone is emphasized and expanded on, and in a media landscape where tone can become so muddied and indecipherable, I think that that's really unique and special. In the end, both movies are about doing the right thing for others, even when it hurts you, and regardless of the ending. It's a simplistic concept, but placed in the hands of writers like Markiplier and Andy Weir, it can become something original and exciting. I enjoyed both movies equally, but for vastly different reasons. We could have easily gotten two Iron Lungs or two Project Hail Marys, but we didn't. In my opinion, that speaks to the individual creativity and skill of the writers. Thank you so much for watching. That's it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know your thoughts. Did you notice the similarities between these movies? Would you watch a movie where these protagonists swapped? And also, would you be interested in more content like this? This is a far cry from what I usually make, but it was fun. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna crochet my sister a Rocky stuffed animal.